Hey everyone, today's live is how to embrace, navigate, and thrive through change. Expected, unexpected, large, small, personal, and professional. And I'm going to share a 6-part formula that's going to help you navigate any changes that life throws at you. Hi, my name is David T.S. Wood, and I have trained over 1 million students on 5 continents. And I've dedicated the last 20 years to helping people break through their fears, embrace change, and live in their higher selves or live extraordinary lives. So, welcome everyone. I'm just going to let you come in right here, right now. I just want to check. I'm going on Facebook as well here. I think it's working. Get started. Here we go. Oh, here we go. First time. What can we say? All right. Oh, look who's coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You know, again, today I'm really going to be talking about change. I'm really excited because I've really mastered change for so many reasons, and I'll get into those in a minute. And what I want to say, I can't get Facebook working. Sorry, everyone. I've tried. So can you make an announcement on Facebook that there's not working for some reason? And maybe they can come onto Instagram. Sorry, everyone. That's just the way we tried it. So I'm going to stay with you on Instagram. Welcome, everyone. Hello, Danielle, Pascal. Look, you all coming in. Hello. Say hello. Send some hearts if you're. Tell me where you're coming from. Actually, there's some waves there. Some of your names, I'm not exactly sure who you are, but thank you. Hey, Siv. How are you? All right, so again, I want to talk about what we're going to work on today. I'm really excited because I've actually created this for today. I've never trained on this. You may have heard certain parts of this because it does relate to lots of other parts of your life and growth and success. However, this particular formula, I sat up for 6 hours yesterday looking at how do I navigate so gracefully and easily? How do I navigate change that way? So as you're coming in, oh, Megan from Nanaima. Hi, Megan. How are you? One of my faves. Hey, Nancy from Oregon. Look, Perth, Australia. Hello, hello. Put the country where you're coming in. Melbourne. Wow. People coming from all over. Those numbers are climbing very, very fast. This is very exciting because this is my first live. I've already messed up Facebook, so I do apologize for anyone listening on Facebook. We'll sort that one out for the next time. Vicky. Hi, Vicky. Vicky, you were so amazing at that last event. So I'm going to focus a little bit on this. On where we're going today. And I also want to say this, you know, I was a little nervous today, and someone who's trained over 1 million students on 5 continents, why would I be nervous? Because guess what? Every time we do something new, right? Every time we leave our comfort zone, then the body is going to do certain things. And it's been doing that to me, especially around the technology. And as I've just shared with you right now, you know, I haven't even got Facebook. I had the 2 side by side, couldn't get Facebook going, didn't test it. You know, my fault. Anyway, look who's coming in. Hey, Suzanne, nice to see you. The people are just flying in. It's really beautiful. I am overwhelmed with gratitude. I'm going to give you a second to come in. You're waving. Yeah, wave. Just tell me where you're from as well. Put a comment in there. I don't know if I can see comments because I haven't done this before, but I love the waves. Hey, Martin. And there's some hearts. Very nice. Thank you very much. Hey, Megan. Hey, very, very lovely. So, you know, one of my sayings that I start with is this, every master was once a disaster. I really like this concept of coming to you live once a week with a new training. Not stuff I've done before, but around your questions. And I batched 3 questions together for this particular live because they were quite similar in nature. And I'm going to read those questions to you in a minute. And it really stirred up a lot in me because, you know, I felt like I was... And you know me, anyone, by the way, if you've trained with me before, just wave or put a heart in there. Hey, Angus, all the way from Sydney. G'day, mate. So if you've trained with me before, put some hearts in there so I know you've trained with me before. But when these questions came in, I really felt uniquely qualified to actually to really answer this question in depth and to give you some real strategies that I believe work. And they definitely work for me. They will take some practice though. And I love this idea, you know, ready, fire, aim. You know, get ready, just fire, boom. Like I want to let people know that I was going to do Facebook as well, and I haven't, for some reason, I can't get this going below. I'm staying with you on Instagram. But I am looking for feedback. And, you can go in DMs if there's ways for me to improve, slow down, interact better, whether you'd like me to bring back a podcast, however you want me to train and work with you, I am open to those suggestions. People are pouring in. Oh my gosh, Scotty Gillian. Hey, Scotty. So again, I'm going to give a few seconds here because I don't know. I've never done a live before. How long is appropriate before we get going? But I am going to keep talking. I want you to understand the value here as well. Today, again, is about navigating, embracing, and thriving. This is the word that I really want to focus on, is thriving through change. Now, expected change, unexpected change, small change, big change, personal change, professional change, all of these. Hey, Robin, how you doing? Yeah, put those hearts in there. Apparently it helps. Who knows, right? Again, I'm going to make one more apology for our Facebook people. I was meant to go live on both. The other one didn't work, but I'm glad I'm here with you. I want to start with a quote from ancient Greece. My friend Sean Hawthorne, he's actually my personal trainer. And he's a very, very thoughtful man. And we were talking about this the other day. And it's Heraclitus. Heraclitus said this. He said, no person can ever step in the same river twice, right? Because the river is never the same and the person is never the same. So that's Heraclitus. I'll say it one more time because I know some of you are still coming in. So I want to make sure that we really get to the source when you're all here. But Heraclitus, ancient Greek, he said this: no person can ever step in the same river twice because the river is never the same and the person is never the same. And I want you to think about 20, 30 minutes from now when we're finished, right? That you won't be the same person, because hopefully what's going to happen is what you hear today is going to make a shift. But obviously you're aging, cells are growing, cells are dying, nails are growing, hair's growing. So you definitely won't be the same person. You're in a state of renewal. Right? So, but I really want you to think about this vision we have for these lives. The reason why I'm excited to come on the lives, right? Because they say, what you hear, you tend to forget. What you see, you tend to remember. But what you do is what you understand. So what I train about today, what I talk to you about today, is I want you to, and put a heart in here if you're committed to this, is not just to listen to me, but is actually to put into action the things I ask you. I'm going to give you some very, very simple steps that you can use right away. And you can start making a difference in how you approach, how you navigate, how you embrace, and how you thrive through change. So again, just throw some hearts in there. If you're ready, you are committed. If you're committed, lovely. I can see all these things. Look at this. I've never seen this. Hey, Suzanne Knight. Oh, look at all these hearts. Hey, Maggie. Robin again. All right, write that down, people, she said. Listen to Robin, she's smart. All right, so the questions. I'm going to read a couple of questions that we got, 3 questions from, and they're kind of similar, so I'm going to handle them. And if you want questions, because I thought about doing Q&A, so the challenge is if we get a really bum question, we can go down a little rabbit hole that's no good for anyone. So I want the questions to come in advance so I can look at them and massage them and put them together with other questions. And so you can let me know if you'd like to do a Q&A at the end of this. If you want clarity, you can let me know if that works for you. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Morgan Nelson. Awesome. So let's read the questions. So this first one, see if I can get this name right. And Cal, I know you're on. His name's Cal Ilampor Anna. So Cal Ilampor Anna. And then, Cal, I'm not sure if I do the but I'm going to do it for you. Let me know. And his question was about embracing inevitable change, how to embrace inevitable change, right? Susan Wheeler, she says this. She says, as desperately as people need and crave change, why do they avoid it? And how can we overcome it? See, similarities here. And then Jenny Knoxrocks, I think that's your last name, that's what I wrote. Navigating change and learning the art of the pivot are 2 things that can throw me off focus. So thank you for the 3 of you. I'm going to put these questions together. And David, my man. Hey, Morgan. How you doing? Hey, Stephanie, thank you for your help. Stephanie really helped me this week about promoting this. So thank you, Stephanie. Really appreciate you. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to look at some of your answers. Why does humanity typically resist change, right? So you can just write it in this. What's some of the ideas, some of the things that you feel why you are resisting change, right? So yeah, I'm going to read them out as they come up. I'll give you a second here. Yes, thank you. Woohoo, made it. Well done. All right. So fear of the unknown, great one. Fear of failure, fear of success. Yeah, fear, absolutely. Thanks, Lynn. Right? Comfort zone. Yes, Steph. Getting outside the comfort zone is a reason why people, and we're going to talk about that, exactly what happens inside the body, right? Uncertainty, absolutely. Not knowing if we can handle it, absolutely. And people, that's right. Ellen says people crave certainty. Comfort zone, uncomfortable zone, fear. What about pessimism and skepticism? Some people are just negative about it. They have this negative way with them. Some people, it's about disrupting their life too much, or they're stuck, right? Fear of ridicule, very nice. Margarita, all right? Yes. Hey, Jess. So let's talk about this, though, because there's another part from an evolutionary standpoint. So let's go back to evolution, all right? And these neural pathways were adapted in order to save our life, right? So let's look at that. Because the brain doesn't like change. And so when we go into the unknown, our brain will shift to a protective stance or a survival stance or a fight-flight stance, all right? So the brain shifts. And it has to pull energy from our reserves. I'm just going to do a little bit here on this, right? So from an evolutionary standpoint, the brain doesn't know what's happening. So when we make a change, your brain goes into, whoa, hold on a sec. What's happening here, right? Okay. And so it doesn't know if it's good change. The brain doesn't know if it's bad change. It doesn't know if it's going to be for a long time, a one-time change. It doesn't know if it's going to get hurt, right? All these different things that will go on. And the other thing it doesn't know is if it's going to have to learn a whole new routine. So from an evolutionary standpoint, when we make a change, the brain kind of freaks out a bit. And I want to talk about a character before I start telling you some of the strategies that I found really help with change. But there's a character in the brain called the amygdala. Now, it's the size of what? A cashew, size of a cashew, all right? And the amygdala, that's where it starts. You make a change. Look what it's responsible for. Perceived fear. What's the word? Perceived fear, right? Perceived fear. So if you look at the definition of the word fear, right, it's the anticipation of pain. So if we got this idea that the amygdala, you make a change in your life, small or big, doesn't matter. The brain doesn't know what's happening. We don't know. We don't like the unknown. We crave certainty. And what happens is this. If you look at the anticipation of pain, is it a past word, a present word, future word? It's a future word, right? And so fear exists in the future. But what the amygdala does, it immediately sends a signal to your hypothalamus. And I just want to answer this question, all right, and let you understand that. The hypothalamus is a very active little critter, right? It's responsible for your appetite, your sex drive, its appetite for your emotions, for body temperature, and also for sending these what do you call it, hormones, right? So, but it will stimulate your active nervous system. This is going to be quick, honestly. But look at this. You've made a small change. Now look what's happened. The amygdala's done its thing. It's perceiving danger right away. It's then talked to the hypothalamus, who's now going to activate your automatic nervous system. And there's two parts to that. There's the sympathetic, which is about fight and flight, and then there's the parasympathetic, which is about freeze. So all these things that happen because you made a small change. You wonder why you don't like it, right? Now, then the automatic nervous system will release these hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. Now, here's what happens in the body. Imagine the last time you made a change or something happened to you, and imagine any of these, and if they do, put a heart in there. If any of these sort of resonate. First of all, your heart rate goes up, right? And what the body's trying to do, the body is trying to feed the muscles for that fight response, right? Then the lungs are breathing faster. How many of you have ever been in change that's a little scary? You're breathing heavy, your heart's thumping in your chest, right? And that's trying to deliver, to feed the blood, right? So the heart and the eyes, what happens? The eyes widen, they dilate, right? Your peripheral vision comes up. You start noticing things you didn't before because you're a little bit scared. Ears will perk up, right? You start hearing things. Imagine last time you walk down a dark alley and you suddenly hear a tiny little sound. You hear it all, right? And listen, this is what I find fascinating. The blood will thicken. Imagine that. You've got a little change, your blood's thickening because it's perceiving danger. So in case you get stabbed or hurt, that it can clot. This is an automatic response. You wonder why you don't like change. And the skin, it'll sweat, you'll get goosebumps, or it'll get cold or hot. But here's the cool part. Your pain perception changes. So remember, you've just gone through, all these things have happened. The amygdala, the hypothalamus, the automatic nervous system, you've got adrenaline, you've got cortisol, you've got all these things going on, a little confusion, right? Your pain perception will reduce, right? So that's why a mom can lose an arm and somehow lift a car up with the other arm with all this adrenaline going, and she won't feel the pain, right? But this will last 20 to 30 minutes. So you imagine when you get a choice to make a change sometimes, all these things happen with this uncertainty, this doubt, all these things going on inside the body, and it's all triggered by a perceived threat, okay? And it's different for all of you. So if I take each one of you and I put you into different situations, every single one of you will have a different response. Yeah, because if some of you are really comfortable, like Morgan there is really comfortable in the room, in front of the room now. You know, he loves to talk on stage. Carrie Lynn, not so much, right? That's not her thing, so she's going to experience these things in the body. So imagine them from an evolutionary standpoint, our brain doesn't like change, and it will do all these things. So what we have to do is we have to master these things. We have to master them. So let's do this. Let's talk about the fight response. I'm going to tell you a few stories. And if you're enjoying this, put some hearts in there. I don't know, again, this is the first time doing it. I'm not sure how much to interact yet. I'm going to get better at this with your help and guidance. But if this is landing, if you understood any of those feelings where, you know, you're doing something new and your heart's thumping in your chest, you know, you're feeling that tension in your body, all these things are happening. Awesome. I'm seeing some hearts there. Thank you. Moksha, living. Asta, you're on, you should be asleep. Asta is actually in Estonia right now. My gosh, what is it, 3 a.m? So, okay, so let's talk about the fight response. And I want you, every story I tell you, I'm going to give you clues to what's happening in your body. And when I give you the sort of the system I'm using to really navigate change, thanks for all those hearts, thank you, right? Then hopefully you're going to figure some of this out. But this, funny you're on Asta, because I didn't know if you've even heard me tell this story before. So Asta, that's my girlfriend, who's now in Estonia. Her parents had grown up in they're Lithuanian. And if you know about Lithuanian history, Lithuania was occupied by the Russians for 50 years. And so they didn't have a lot. And so I thought, oh my gosh, why don't we bring Asta's parents over for the holiday of a lifetime? And so we pick him up at the airport, and he's going through some health issues, and we have to go to a pharmacy right away. So we pull into the pharmacy, they go out and get his stuff. When they come out, I go to pull out, and the pharmacy's got a little bit of a weird exit. Now, I grew up in England, and we have a different driving philosophy than we do in Canada. For example, in England, no one drives in the fast lane. They'll pass in the fast lane and they move to the slow lane. But we overtake, and if we see someone behind us, we're like, oh, sorry, we pull over. Here, people poodle along at the speed limit in the fast lane. Pet peeve, that's all. But the other thing we do is we're a bit more aggressive. So when we want to pull out in traffic, we don't sit and wait. We push our nose out and we gradually pull out into traffic. And because of the way we drive there, because of our culture, the person seeing you coming in will give you some space and you'll pull in. Now, here's the thing. What we won't do is if someone's pushed in once, we won't push in right behind them. We'll give that other guy time to go and then we'll push in. So here I am doing my British thing. Whoop, I pull out into the traffic. And this guy starts flashing his lights. Now remember, we're talking about the fight response, right? He's had to change lanes a little bit. We're talking about small change here, but he goes into flashing lights and I'm like, oh crap. So I'm driving along and he's getting right close to the bumper and I'm like, oh no, can you imagine? These guys have just arrived in Canada, the nicest people on earth. Sorry. Oh, thank you. Sorry. Right? And here we are. This guy has spent 50 years in sort of occupied Lithuania by Russians. You'd expect somebody to drag you out of the car there, but not in Canada, in Kelowna. So this guy, I stop at a light and he jumps out of the car and he goes stomping up to the window, and I haven't told anyone yet. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be horrendous. They've just arrived. They've been in Canada for like 35 minutes. And anyway, I used to teach a lot of back-off drills. It's like, you go this intense. So I puff out my chest and I'm looking in the mirror trying to scare him off. Now, luckily, Asta, please forgive me on this one, right? Asta's dad has this thing. It's like resting, what do you call it? Resting bitch face? Anyway, sorry. But he walks up, he must see me, and I'm like, and I'm looking in the mirror trying to sort of back him away. I'm not a fighter, by the way. But he's a big guy and he's got that face. And I think this guy realized this is not a good move. So he goes back, he gives me the bird, and he goes in the car, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even tell Arturas or anyone in the car what had happened. But just imagine that. So that's that fight response. Now, any of you recognize that? If you've ever got mad, if you've ever got frustrated, if you've ever road rage, come on, come on. I see you all laughing there, but come on, I don't know what you can do there. Can you put a thumbs up? Yeah, hearts are good. If you've ever had that response, right? And again, if you're joining from Facebook, I'm so sorry, I screwed up on Facebook. Apologies, all right? First time. So, and I've watched people at the airport get absolutely insanely angry about something like this, a change, right? This guy changed lanes. Let's talk about the flight response. Flight. Flight's like this. I don't see people running from things occasionally, but it's the word no. I ask people, I say, hey, do you want to do this? Like, let's say I said, hey, do you want to bungee jump? No. Or, a lot of people are afraid of the ocean, right? I'm a scuba diving instructor, right? But no. So their flight is just no. It's not like, hey, tell me about it. What's it like? What's it like to stand on a bungee set? What's it like under the ocean? Why do you love it so much? But typically the flight response is just going to the word no. It's a default mode. And I ask people all kinds of things. I say, hey, would you like to do this? No is the immediate response, because the brain wants you to stay on autopilot. And by the way, I'll tell you another story. The other day, what happened to me, I was going into a little restaurant called Joey's in Kelowna here, and I'm walking to the door, and there's a minivan. You don't see those many often, a minivan there, and a little girl walked around behind the minivan, and she was looking at the rocks, and suddenly I hear her mother screaming at her. And she's only like 2 or 3, and I'm walking up, it's dark, and she starts to say, what are you doing? You're going to get hurt. And she starts kind of, as I walk away, she's like, that's a strange man. I'm just thinking about, you think about these things, why each one of us have a different response to things, right? And so I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen when she's 35 walking through a dark parking lot and someone walks by her? This kind of thing, right? So, and then look about routine, how we routine with babies, right? So with babies, what we do is we will have their milk at a certain time, everything. We want it routine. So when change comes along when they're older, it's very, very hard for them, right? So let's go into freeze. So we've gone into fight. Flight is kind of no. We just stand off. And this is what I'm going to urge you. One of the things you're going to become happier with saying is just yes or maybe. Don't even say yes right away. Just say, yeah, maybe. Just tell me about it. So instead of saying no as your default mode, you're going to go, hey, maybe, just let me hear more about it, and be open, right? The freeze. I want to talk, how many of you on there have ever made or know Emily Ford, previously Emily Vavra? If you know her, put some hearts in there. I'm going to tell you 2 stories about her. And I was talking to her yesterday, have total permission, right? So let me see some hearts if you know Emily, so I know that you know what we're talking about. Or wave. Wave's fine. Hey, Ali, how are you? Okay, so Emily Ford, she has 500,000 followers on Instagram. She has become a force of nature. She trains on some of the big stages in the world. However, when I met her 10 or 11 years ago, Emily was terrified. I had a program called Journey to the Stage, and I handed her a microphone, and she was terrified. She was almost in tears. She was frozen. Freeze, right? This is frozen, can't do it. Look at it today, right? So there was this moment in her history where she wasn't that person. And this is why it's going to be cool as if you learn 1 or 2 of these strategies that I'm going to give you today, and again, they're going to reveal themselves in a moment, then imagine what can happen for you. So again, I'm used to people talking back. So, I'm going to just hope that, do one of these or do whatever you have to do so I know you're listening. Here's the other thing. About, I don't know, was it 8 months ago, 9 months ago? Oh, it was February last year. So I do a leadership training in England. And I invite Emily to come over and help co-train this leadership event. But before we do the leadership event, I take all of the crew, the staff, the trainers, and I said, hey, I want them to be uncomfortable. So I take them on a high ropes course. And it's 5 stories high. I didn't realize that Emily Ford, this titan of nature, this woman who looks fearless, this person that so many people look up to, was terrified of heights. So I had to stand there, and every single step of the way, she again is back to the time with the microphone, right? This is the freeze response, fight, flight, or freeze. And I'm having to lead her all the way around, up and up and up and up. And she did the whole thing. And she said it was absolutely life-changing. So what that really, again, what I want you to think about now is, where do you go into flight? Where do you go into fight? And where do you personally go into freeze, right? Because this is where, when we start to make changes and when we become really powerful at changes, right? What did she say there? Oh, to be alive, it cut out. Wow, good for her. Okay, Alex is saying good for her. I'm just checking in. So I'm going to tell you some stories now that reveal the secrets of powerful change. And within these secrets, I'm going to tell you 3 stories. And then I'm going to tell you the actual template that I've designed for you based on me unpacking what I do naturally. In other words, this wasn't something I read in a book. The first was this. The first was, I was in a plane in England. And I when I go on trips, I tend to like to add a trip on, like do a little walkabout. Right? If you like a walkabout, show me a heart. If you like to travel, if you love travel, if you like being out there, right? And so I had planned a trip to Croatia, and I'd never been there, excited to go there. I'm on the runway or on the tarmac, and we get held up there for 45 minutes to an hour. No problem, right? But when we land in Frankfurt, okay, the captain comes on, it's 10:30 at night, and says, sorry, everyone, if you've got a connecting flight, you will be missing your flight tonight. You'll have to get a new ticket and stay at the hotel. Now, what happened on the plane? Fight mode, mostly. The whole thing was tension, right? But there happened to be a girl sitting 2 seats in front of me. And I watched her get up. And when she was leaving the plane, she hugged the flight attendant. Everyone else was pissed off, but she hugged the flight attendant. Now, remarkably, I get on the bus, and in Frankfurt, it's a long bus ride back to the terminal. And so she stands next to me, and I asked her a couple of questions. Now it's getting on for 11 o'clock at night. And I hear a German guy telling her how great Frankfurt is. So I just look over, and this is not me trying to pick up girls. That's not my style. I looked over and I said, hey, would you like to see Frankfurt tonight? And she looked at me and she gave me the sort of up and down, like she went, yeah. I said, okay, follow me. So again, the secret of change. We're going to get into the steps in a second here. Follow me, right? So we went up and we had to get new tickets. Everyone's mad. They're in the line. What did I do? Go up, give the woman a hug. Hey, I know you're having a bad day. There's a lot of people upset. She said, oh, yeah. I told her what I'm doing. I said, I just met this girl. I want to give her a tour. She said, all right. And she put me in on the club floor of the hotel, right? Kindness here, accepting what's happening, club floor, right? And so she goes and gets ready in her room. And I go out and I find a taxi driver. Because again, I'm curious. There's this thing that happens when change occurs. One of the things to start doing is to be looking around at what's happening next, is to be observing the possibilities of what can happen in this moment versus where fight, flight, or freeze mode's going on most of the time because of that crazy amygdala, that hypothalamus. In other words, we have to fight against our natural urge in this regard. So what happens is I end up bumping into a taxi driver who happened to be a photographer, who happened to know every cool place in Frankfurt. Midnight, we're driving around to some of the coolest, and he was so passionate that he started taking photographs for us, and he sent us photographs, right? So here's the end of the story. A few months later, we end up on a date together, me and this girl, that's Asta on here. We've been dating 6 years. Now, I want you to think about this. if she had got up, pissed off, in fight, flight, or freeze mode, I would never have ever talked to her, right? I wouldn't. And the energy, if I had been the same when she stood on the bus, because a lot of people weren't looking at anyone, they were thinking about what they missed as opposed to being in the opportunity. Now, I'm going to make it sound like I've got all this shit sorted out. However, I'm going to tell you a story that happened recently where I got challenged. I went into fight mode. And I want you to see what happened here, because this is a clue about how you can navigate change so powerfully, right? And I can tell you hundreds of stories. I'm going to tell you 3, maybe 4. We'll see. If you're liking the stories, if you prefer to be taught by stories, put some hearts in there so I know. I mean, I could give you stats. I can give you graphs. I can tell you all these kinds of things. But if you're enjoying it, let me know, just so I know that you're coming along for the ride. The numbers say you are, so that's good. Okay. I got to wait. This is what I read yesterday. Yes, David, heart, aw, thank you. Aw, thank you. That's Jenny, isn't it? Moksha Living? I think it's Jenny. All right. So what happened was, I have a boat down in Antigua in the Caribbean. And I go down there. It's a liveaboard. Love it down there. Love boats. Oh, thank you. Oh, Asta. Yes. I bet there better be hearts from you. Okay. So, but it's a hard trip back. Hard in the sense that you have to sleep over somewhere. But things went awry. Ended up not sleeping for a couple of days, and I fly into Montreal, and the captain comes on and says, hey, there's a good chance, you're not going to make your connections. We can see it's tight. But sometimes, I love to be this thing when there's a challenge like that, get off the airport, and I can get through security pretty fast. A smile, by the way, smile goes a long way, people. Kindness goes a long way, people. So I'm whizzing through security, and I get to the gate. Listen to this. I get to the gate, and I see that people are still boarding. I'm like, ba-ba! I knew my bags wouldn't make it, no problem, but I get to the gate. So I wander up, and I wait to the very end because I want to stop sweating. I've been sort of booting it. And I give the girl my ticket, and here's what happens. She goes, dick. And she said, I'm sorry. I said, what? She said, you're not booked on this flight. I said, well, look, here's my boarding pass. She said, I know. She said, I said, there's seats in there, right? She said, yeah. And listen, I start to move. Remember, I haven't slept in a couple of days, and even though I'm teaching you this stuff, I could still fall off the wagon. This is me falling off the wagon. I'm like, there's seats in there? It's more like that. And I said, try it again. I said, I've got a seat number. She said, yeah. She said, but they removed you because they didn't think you were going to make it. And instead of doing what I normally do, which is what I'm going to teach you to do, I went into my fight mode. And I have to go and get a new ticket. I go down, the guy Jim is on the desk. I always remember these incidences. We start talking about, I'm now closed, I'm pissed off, I'm sweating, I'm thinking about what I missed. My mind is totally somewhere else. I'm not present. And he's thank you about that. You just said that about the stories are wonderful. Thank you. Anyway, so he says to me, I said, all right. And his head's down, just doing this, right? And then he says, hey, he says, yeah, we're moving you to Toronto tonight. And I think, oh, you can get me home? I'm still like, He's like, no, you're spending the night in Toronto. And now I'm like, now I've got to go from Montreal to Toronto, and I'm still not getting home. Anyway, so I storm off, having a pissy party and a tantrum. Guess what happens? I'm like, who the hell are you? I have to go and give myself a little talking to. I have to stand in the corner. I'm like, Dave, what are you doing? Do you enjoy being like that? What? And I actually give myself a whole talking to. And I'm like, you never do this. You never go into that idiot mode. Why? So anyway, I go back. I line up again for Jim. And I said, Jim, I'm so sorry. He said, what? I said, I need to shake your hand. I said, I was such a dick earlier. I'm so sorry. I said, I came back and lined up. And I'm almost crying thinking about it. I said, look, I am so sorry. I said, there's nothing to do with you. I was ignorant and angry. He says, Dave, he says, you were actually quite polite compared with most people who were upset. And I said, look, I'm so sorry. Anyway, so I said, can I just get, and there was not a lot of people behind, so we started talking. I said, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I said, would there be any chance, I know you booked me into Toronto, I know if my bags are probably going there. He said, would there be any chance that I could stay in Montreal? Because in my angry moment, I actually forgot my son lives in Montreal, my youngest son. And I thought, I know he's working tonight. I'm not sure where he works, but there could be a glimmer of hope that I could meet him for breakfast. He says, wait, And he goes, wow, magic stuff, right? And I said, and the bags, he said, hold on. I hear him get on the radio. He says, hey, I can't remember the guy's name. Get down to baggage. I want those bags off of the Toronto flight. Goes and gets the bags. I don't need them. I don't take them. But he gets me a night in Montreal. So then I jump in a Uber. I have no idea where my son works, but I have a look and I see a thing where he says he's going for a job interview. I show up there, happen to be a hotel right opposite called the Holy Inn. And I said to the cab driver, wait there. I walk in. I walk around. I'm going to go in, and a woman comes out the back. And I said, excuse me. She said, yeah. I said, does a guy called Ben work here? She's like, you mean Benny Wood? And she's got this French accent. Oh, Benny Wood. Oh, like that, right? I said, yeah, Ben. She said, oh, we love him. It's so good. I said, is he here? She said, yeah. And I said, look, he doesn't know I'm here. I just missed my flight. So anyway, I go in the restaurant, and she goes and gets him out of the kitchen, and I hide, and he goes behind the bar, and I walk up, I go, hey, Ben. And he turns around, he's like, and he's speechless. I thought he was going to fall over. Dad, he says, what are you doing here? I said, well, it's a funny thing that happened. Anyway, so I said, I know you're working. He says, no. He says, Dad, come. So I ran across to the hotel, had a quick shower, and the guy at the front desk, again, kindness is so important here, and everything is being present. Really had a lot of fun with the guy at the front desk. He went and got a first-class bag that had been left there, that hadn't been used. So I had toothbrush, shave, da-da-da-da. I had no clothes with me. Go back. I sit down at the bar, and Ben, he's speaking French, and this is a fusion restaurant. He's bringing food. He's proud. And he says, Dad, I know you love sake. He says, my friend is a sake expert. So the sake expert comes over, and Ben's standing all proud, and we're drinking sake. He finishes at 1 o'clock in the morning, but we go to 2 bars. We play pool. And in the morning, I stay at the hotel, but in the morning, he makes me breakfast. We had the best father-son moment. But just imagine going back to when I was in my fight mode of what had happened. I could not change. The woman at the desk had no power to change my ticket. Jim, he didn't have power to help me when I was being a dick. However, when I caught myself moving into this area, and again, I can make it sound like an excuse because I was tired. However, there is no excuse ever, people, ever, right? So I'm going to tell you one last story, and hopefully you're starting to get it. And I'm going to give you the formula. Again, if you seems like you're all still here. It's going up. I don't know why people come and go so fast. It's like 128, 120, 123, 120. Hope you sent Jim a Christmas card. Who are you talking to, Dean? We talking about you got to be paying attention to the stories here. Not talking about Christmas cards. Okay. Oh, Jim, I see what you're saying. The guy at the front. Oh, yes, I didn't. But good point. Thanks, Dean. Apologies. All right. Let me tell you a last story. And then I'm going to give you 6 steps. And in those steps, there's other stories. So, during the I won't use the word, that thing. 2 years, I don't like using the C word or the P word. But Astor and I decided that, guess what we're going to do? We're going to travel. And everyone kept saying, you can't travel. I was like, really? So we kept looking for places you could travel. And it just so happened, she was in Lithuania, I was in Canada, that Greece of all the countries in the world that were open, Greece was open to Canadians. And everyone's saying, oh no, you can't travel. Really? So we planned a trip to Greece. Now what happens? I'm sitting on this couch right behind me over there. Look, it's my living room. I like doing this in the living room. I just feel the office feels like office-y. All right? So I'm up late, and if you know me, and some of you do really well, I pack at the very last second. It's not even the last minute. It's like, if it wasn't for the last minute, I'd never get anything done. Because I've got goldfish brain, right? So, I fall asleep on the couch here, which is very rare for me. And I wake up 45 minutes after my taxi had left the front door. I didn't hear him, right? I get up, oh my God, I'm throwing everything in a bag. I'm looking at the time. I actually fly float planes here. I'm trying to find, it's 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to phone my pilot buddies because I don't think I'm going to make the flight to get me to Vancouver to catch the second part of the flight. Anyway, so I jumped everything in the car. I screamed to the airport. I haven't walked. Now, if you know me, again, some of you don't know really well, I'm a very clean, I shower 2 or 3 times, not because I'm anal, but because before the gym, after the gym, I just like being clean. I clean it up. These are British teeth with no work done. Because I clean a lot, right? And I'm at the airport now, stinking. I haven't washed, I haven't cleaned my teeth. I've got bags that I've just chucked together. And I watched the plane take off. Now listen, this is one of the clues. The plane is taking off. I know the flight number. I can't see the flight number, but I know the plane. I know the time. That's my flight. Anyway, I walk out and I'm sweating. I'm in that kind of, I'm not fighting, but I'm in tension. This is an important thing to understand. Tension. The tension, and what tension does is it comes out and it hits other people. And when it hits other people, they have to close up because of your tension. And this is what I did. I swear on my children's life, I stood outside the door of the airport with my 2 bags. Thank you for the wave. And I started to breathe. The flight's gone. This is an important part of the formula. It's gone. I can't bring it back. Whatever happens next, if I'm in the energy I'm going to talk to you about, then we'll see what happens next. I take a few breaths and I walk up to the Air Canada desk. I can't make this shit up, right? Now, Asta's already in Greece. She flew in 2 days early, right? She's waiting there for me. We haven't seen each other for 6 weeks. And so I walk up to the front desk as if I just ate a croissant and drank a coffee. And I said, oh, hi. And she was surprised because there's no lineup because everyone's gone. She was about to leave herself. And she was like a little tense. I said, she said, you missed the flight. I said, yeah. I didn't go, thank you. Yes, I got that. I said, yeah, no, I understand. And she said, there's only 1 a week because of that word. I said, oh, that surprised me. I didn't know there's only 1 a week. And inside I'm going, oh, shit. But outside I'm going, oh. And she said, there's nothing I can do. I said, she could book you on next week. So she starts to book me on a week away. So I started talking to her. And I let go of the idea that I had to be in Greece. I let go of it completely because I couldn't change that moment. I had to be in the moment, present with this person. And I asked her name was Karen. I said, hey, and I asked her about how long she lived in Kelowna. And then she told me about her kids. And we started talking. And she looked at me, she stopped. She said, how many bags do you have? I said, 2. She said, come with me. And again, I can't make this shit up. And Asta's there, she'll tell you. I grab the bags and she starts running. Now I'm running down the airport. If you're enjoying the story, put some hearts in there so I know I'm talking to myself. Anyway, so I'm running down the airport, right? This is in Kelowna. And she goes to the WestJet desk. And she goes behind the counter. And she starts talking to this woman. And I get there with these 2 bags. I'm a little bit behind her. And she says, word of a lie, she said, look, we can get you on the WestJet flight. She says it's going to arrive, but you're going to have about 20 minutes to get from your flight, but to the... I'm like, thank you. And I went to pay. She says, no, it's all right. We'll get you on there. I'm like, thank you. And I stopped her, getting emotional again. I said, thank you. And she's like, it doesn't matter what she was like. She's just like, oh my God, it's because she was seen, right? So then I go out on the tarmac and I've got these bags. The bags are gone. I see them being loaded and I suddenly realize I've only got 20 minutes. I don't need the bags. So I walk up to the woman. I said, excuse me. I said, I realize I'm changing airlines. You're WestJet. I have to go to Air Canada and my flight leaves in like an hour and 20 minutes. I said, is there any way you can just leave them here? She said, I'm sorry, I can't. Then the woman comes out from WestJet, Karen's friend. She said, can you get someone here right away? I said, yeah. She said, all right. So she takes the bag. So now I'm going to Greece. I have a passport, 2 tickets. That's it. Nothing else. And I'm unshaven. I have stinky breath and other parts stink probably. So here I am, right? And I get on the plane and I get to Vancouver and I just get to the gate. There's last 3 people boarding. I walk up and I'm like, I give it to her. I'm like, by the way, we were wearing masks, so my breath wasn't such a big deal. So we had a mask on. And she said, I'm sorry, you can't get on this flight. I'm like, okay. So I said, excuse me? She said, well, actually, we have a law in Canada that you have to, if you have a combination ticket, you actually have to board on the city of origin. You're not allowed to board a flight somewhere in the middle. That can't happen. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so I started talking to her. What can I do? Maybe I can't get on the flight, right? So in this moment, I'm looking, I'm curious, present with this person. That's all I can do. I can think of all the things that can go wrong now, but in this moment, I can be here with her. And guess what? She said, hold on a sec. She goes over and gets another woman. And you can read this post. This post is on my Instagram, David T.S, which you're on right now. But if you go back into Greece, you'll see the whole story there. I took photographs for these people. So I'm not making this shit up, right? And now the other woman goes against this guy. And I'm standing there and I'm just chatting. I'm calm. Who's laughing? I'm calm, right? And I'm just there. I'm in this moment, not in the plane. I'm not on the gangway. The plane's not taking off in my mind. I'm just in this second, this moment right now. And so what do I do? The guy looks at me and I see they've closed the gate. He's like, David, and he looks at me right in the eyes. He goes, you will not miss this flight. And I told her, what I told her was, I told her about Asa waiting. That's the story I told. I said, let me tell you a story. I didn't say, hey, get me on the flight because Asa's there. Let me tell you a story. Anyway, this happened in Montreal as well. Got to Greece, and this is the last part of the story. I get there, nothing. And I walk in, there's a store in the Athens airport, and there's this beautiful gay guy who happens to be the loveliest person on earth who loves dressing men. And undressing, I guess. But did I say that out loud? Stop it. Anyway, so he brings me these clothes and he gets me a brand new wardrobe, and it's still one of my favorite shirts ever. You'll see this blue shirt that's on that blue shirt I'm wearing right there, right? I love these shirts. Anyway, so who needs Jerry Steinfeld? Thanks, Dean. So this is the story. And so what I'm going to do right now, I actually written this down, look at it. I wrote down a formula so I don't miss something. But how many of you are ready? If you're ready to listen to this formula, but remember what I said to you in the beginning. It's what we do that we understand. And remember what I said about Heraclitus, right? If you're here, Sean, hopefully you are, right? That no person ever steps in the same river twice. Is that being on this thing for 30 minutes or wherever it takes us, is that you will not be the same person. When you hear this, next time you're in this position, that you're gonna stop. And you're going to look and you're going to see. I'll tell you what the system is in a minute. But if you're committed to that, let me see. Yeah, say ready. Yeah, ready. You guys are awesome. I wish I could talk to you. Maybe we'll do a Q&A. So the first part, this is the first part. And again, I swear, I sat right here for 6 hours. I'm cleansing, so I didn't eat any food yesterday. So to do this while I was cleansing on the first day was horrendous, just so you know. And I sat here till 11 o'clock and Asa would tell you because I talked to him. So first of all, it's a mantra. I have mantras in my head. And I learned this a long time ago, is to pre-think things. What will I do if I break my legs, or if I become a paraplegic or quadriplegic? What would I do if I burn my face? How do I want to behave post-accident, let's say? So the first thing is I have these mantras. And I'm going to tell you a few of them. And these are things that I create neural pathways in my brain for, and I repeat over and over and over and over and over and over and over again everywhere I go. These are my and these are a few of them. I have a lot. But the first is I don't get jet lag. So I travel all over the world. When I fly to Australia, guess what I do? I normally book tickets the first night to the Sydney Opera House, and I will go to a play, even though I'm exhausted. Why? Because I don't get jet lag. And so to do that, that's a mantra that I say to myself. I don't get sick. And that's what I believe. And anyone who knows me, I don't think I've had a cold or flu. And some of you are going to go, oh, you're tempting Providence now. That's a bunch of bull, right? Of course, I'm not tempting Providence. I'm telling you that I have a mantra and I rarely, if ever, get sick, right? I believe, and I say to myself, I'm a really fast healer. Now, I found this out the other day. If Sean is on, I'm not sure if Sean's on. If Sean, you say hi if you are. But we're doing deadlifts and I'm going for a personal best. And I always wondered why powerlifters wear long socks. And I found out that day because I dragged the bar right up my shins and they started to bleed. And here's what I said to Sean. Hey, I heal fast. Bleeding, I don't care. It's easy. I said something like that, right? But I believe that I heal fast. And I can watch myself heal. When I get cut, I believe that I heal fast. Now, these are mantras. I believe I don't need a lot of sleep. I can go on 4 hours sleep. Now, my dad's 94. By the way, Astor, you'll love this. Today, I did a test Zoom call with my dad for the first time. Oh, my God. Looking up his nose, looking on his head. 94. That was gorgeous, right? And I believe that I am excellent with change. I believe I'm a change master. So these are the things I say. So first of all, I want you to start looking at the mantras you say. And if you have the opposite, like, oh, yeah, it's jet lag. Why use that word? Oh, yeah, I'm feeling sick. Why focus on the sick? Why not focus? I'm getting well. So the idea here is that I believe, and the power of the brain is part of it. So part of the change strategy is believing that you're a master of change and that you can handle anything that comes your way. Now, you may have a moment like I did, a pissy party at Montreal airport with Jim, right? That may occur. So here's the other one. This is so big. You got to write this one down. Again, I see the hearts, right? Expectations. I can't believe people. I'm using the airport a lot only because you guys can relate to that. If I start talking about big changes, you guys can't practice that right away. I'm showing you shit that you can do today, right? So expectations, and there's William Whitecloud's book, Expectations are the Enemy, Detachment is the Ally, right? So beautiful. It's called the Magician's Way. But the idea that, what is it with you people? You expect that your bags will arrive at an airport. I never expect that. I'm thinking millions of bags travel all over the world every day. I'm always rejoicing when I see them. It's like, they made it. But when they don't, I don't mind because there's the chances of them making it. I mean, it's remarkable. So my expectations are, if my bags come, it is a bonus, but I certainly don't expect it, right? The other one is this, missing flights, right? Obviously, I've told you a few stories here. Yeah. I don't have expectations that every flight I'm on will take off. I don't have expectations that flights won't get grounded. I don't have expectations that I won't miss flights. So when it happens, it's like, oh yeah, this is bound to happen. So my expectations are, wow, right? Car accidents, you driving all over. This happened the other day. Asta will tell you this too. I was in a car accident the other day. Some guy, old man, bang, hits me from behind, boom. And it was one of those. It wasn't like destroyed, but it was definitely one of these whiplash kind of moments. And we're in traffic down by the mall in Kelowna. I jump out the car and there's this little old man gets out and he's kind of got a little shake going on. And I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I'm so sorry. I said, don't worry about it. I said, get back in your car. You're good. I said, go. You're fine. I'm fine. Go. Right? So I jump in the car, I come home. And I said, hey, Asta, I was in a car accident. And the question was, was there a lot of damage? I said, I don't know. I didn't look. Why look? I wasn't gonna, the old man, I have insurance. Who cares? But in that moment now, you can't all afford to do that. But that's the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world of my own making. And so this expectations and detachment from things not happening, bad things not happening, right? So here's the third one. So the first then is mantras, having a clear mantra in your head. The second is expectations. Is really having different expectations. And when great things happen, celebrating them, not expecting them to happen every freaking time, right? I was on a flight recently where the engine blew, right? I'll tell that story in a minute. Okay, so here's step three. Accept the offer now, right? You're going this way, right? You're going this way. I think I'm going to Greece. However, guess what? Let's say none of those great things happened on that particular morning, and I didn't end up in Greece. Then what? I could be really upset and angry and disappointed and frustrated and all those things in my home in Kelowna. Or I can be accepting that was not meant to happen at that particular moment, and I am willing to travel this road to see where it goes. Obviously, I'd make my way to Greece. Wouldn't I, babe? Right? So accepting the offer, surrendering to what's actually happening, not to what you wish was happening. This is so important, guys. Surrendering to what, my God, I've gone a long time. Only two more, then we can quit. But here's the big one, look. Practicing in when shit is happening, when change is occurring, is first go here. Just take a breath and use this. Just smile. And just look around, this idea of curiosity, right? And here's the big one. I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about this. So again, we've got mantras, we've got expectations. My expectations are not that everything's going to go right. And when it goes wrong, I'm like, whoa, of course that's going to happen. Of course flights are going to get delayed. Of course cars are going to crash. Of course people break their legs. Of course people have accidents. Of course, Now here's the thing. My son Ben rode off his car. And I've told, some of you have heard that story. And his first car ever, he was in love with it. And I had it parked in his mom's driveway. Sorry, Pam, right? In his mom's driveway. But every time I took him home, this thing's a wreck. Never, ever going to drive again. And he get out of the car and he's like, oh, And I said, Ben, can I ask you a question? He said, what? I said, how long are you going to mourn for? He's like, what? I said, how long are you going to mourn for? What do you mean? Well, how long are you going to think about this? The car is never coming back. It's a wreck. It's done. It's finished. It's finito. It's pushing up the daisies. How long are you going to mourn for? He said, well, how long should I mourn for with a car? I said, with a car, Ben? 24 hours. He's like, could I have 3 days? It was my first car. I said, sure. I said, but they never think about it again. Unless you're telling a positive story about it, don't dwell because it's already occurred. It's happened. Now, let me talk about loss because this is the same philosophy. I'd love to do a whole show on loss because one thing that's going to happen to all of us, we're all dying, right? We just don't know when. And so in Greece, they mourn for 40 days. 40 days is the mourning period to be unhappy, right? Tibet, 49 days. Africa, they dance for 7 days. In New Orleans, they have the jazz, the jazz kind of thing, this festival of celebration. These are how some people mourn. We can choose our mourning period, how long, and I'm not talking about death, I'm talking about anything. Let's say your house catches fire. How long do you want to be sad about it for? Someone embezzled you. That's change. How long do you want to hold on to it for? How long are you going to mourn this? You can choose the time. Madagascar, they do this thing. This is so fascinating. In Madagascar, they call it turning the bones. They actually dig up the bodies 5 years after they've been buried, and they spray them, they rewrap them with fresh perfumes and wines, and they leave them on the ground, and they talk to them, they tell them what's happened in the last 5 years, and then they dance with them. They dance, and they celebrate their life, and their belief is that we keep talking about those we lose, we can celebrate their lives forever. They live forever in that. So the idea here, like, for example, what happened to me in Montreal when I got pissy, that mourning period took longer than normal. That took me 35 minutes. Normally, I can do it in like 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. But 35 minutes because I got all pissy and I was tired. Right? However, so choose your mourning period. This is really big. Let me tell you one last quick story on this because I know we're going for an hour now. I was the president CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. And I was making $60,000, $65,000, $70,000 a month. And I'm sitting at the board table, and the majority shareholder was a doctor. There was all doctors because we had a health company. And they didn't want, it was a network marketing company, and they wanted to change the comp plan because they didn't like that some of the leaders were making more money than them. And as I'm listening to this, I start writing out my resignation. I've been 3 years. That's three. What's three? 3 years. And I hand my resignation in, and I get up, and I walk out. My values had been damaged. And again, they were not willing to change. They wanted to change the rules because people were successful, and I could not, even though I'd grown the company. I jump in the car, and I drive home. The next day, I start a new company because my assistant, Courtney, she may be even on, she left with me. And her mom called me and said, Courtney doesn't have a job. So I decided my morning period would be the drive home, 22 minutes. And then I would not think about those 3 years and the $60,000 a month again. And if I hadn't left that company that day, I wouldn't be sitting here. I would not have ever discovered my true passion. I would never be a teacher. I would never be a trainer. I would not have trained 1 million people had I not handed in my resignation. And the moment I got in that car, I decided in 22 minutes, I will let it go. I will mourn this thing for 22 minutes. And then, boom, done. All right. So let's go to this last one. 2. The one is, this is big. The big one is curiosity. If we live with fascination and curiosity, when change happens, we start looking for what? Just looking for the wonder. What else? What else exists here? Why am I here right now? Who am I going to meet? What relationship's going to start? What incredible meal am I going to have? What adventure will I go on? Right? So the idea here is the adaptation. And this is adapting to what's happened. It's already happened. The adaptation. We mourn. Okay, I'm going to mourn for 5 minutes. Boom. Now I'm adapting. Whom. Now I'm looking. Curious. Fascination. I'm looking for everything, right? And the last one, thank you. I'm trying to finish this in 2 minutes here, is to live with purpose. This is the big one because my purpose is to be a really happy, kind, centered, grounded, loving, forgiving human being. So part of my purpose, I also have a purpose about teaching. So when we live with purpose, then change doesn't bother us because if you've got a purpose, shit's going to happen. And it may be financial, it may be health-wise. Some of you know I almost died, was it last year or something? So I've been on the precipice of another story. I don't want to waste that one on this one, right? So, but the idea of purpose, be driven by purpose. So if you're living a purposeful life, change will not get in the way. It's going to be a little tiny road bump. It's going to be, whoop, it's going to be nothing, right? So again, go back, mantra. What is it you're saying to yourself that supports this vision of how you want to live? Expectations, change them. Never expect everything to go right. Stop that. And when it goes wrong, say, oh yeah, that's an expectation. Of course they go wrong. So one of my expectations is shit happens and I'm okay with it because that's one of my expectations, right? Accept, surrender to what actually happens, not what you wish would happen. And the quicker we can get to surrender, that moment of, oh yeah, here we are. In this present moment, then we can connect with the people around us and then magic seems to happen. And I can tell you hundreds more stories. Choose the mourning period. How long do you want to mourn? When stuff goes sideways, how much time do you want to give it? Some of you are addicted to drama. So you want to hold, oh, you don't understand, 22 years ago, I got embezzled. Oh, you don't understand, I broke my back. Who cares? Adapt. This is what you are right now. How do you make this moment the best? Then adapt to curiosity and fascination. And lastly, live with purpose. Now, by the way, I have no idea how to end these things. I don't know if is there a way, but I want to give you a call to action. By the way, this is one of my things I travel with. Look, thank you, Manuela. No on one side, yes on the other. A lot of my decisions I make with a flip of a coin because it's easier. I have no idea where this will take me, this way, this way. So here's 3 practices, apart from what I just gave you, is practice. When I go to restaurants, I never read the menu. I just say, bring me your favorite thing. Practice being that person because that means you're living in this uncomfortable zone. It's change. Asta will tell you, our friend is a banker. Every time we go to a restaurant with him, he orders the same dish. By God. I went to that same restaurant the other day where the little girl was. That's the same restaurant. And I said to the girl, bring me whatever you want. I had this dish that I would never order in 1,000 years. And it was the best. I sat there, I'm like, oh, no. So you're going to practice not ordering the same food. Practice different foods. Let yourself live in a world of chance and see how magical it is. Practice that and getting lost. This is the other thing. When I go to a strange city, take the business card, like I was in Vietnam, take a business card, put it of the hotel and go get lost. And just keep walking around corner until you get lost. Now, remember, if you're someone who feels you're going to get hurt, your amygdala is going to tell your hypothalamus, oh, this is dangerous. But maybe it's not, because I've never got hurt that way. All right. So someone tell me, how do you end this? What do I say? Goodbye? Do I say thank you? Actually, I'll tell you what you do. Give me a call to action. What are you going to embrace? What are you going to take? What are you going to do? How will you use this? And I'm going to sit and watch. And ask to go to bed. It's 3:00 in the morning. Lynn, chance, trust, imagine. Press the X. Lots of kisses from Angela Radke. Traveling is to wander. Until next time, live in a world of chance. Some of these steps, though, I want to see them, right? Having expectations. Yes, good. Reduce the mourning period. Yes. Be more present everywhere, right? Embrace the differences. Yes, nice, awesome, thank you. So this is the end. I don't know how I save it. How do I end it? I don't know how to do it. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. And I want to do this once a week. Oh yeah, DM me. And please, can you share this? I'm going to put it out somewhere. Get other people watching it because this is life-changing stuff. And send me your questions. What do you want me to answer? Where do you want me to go? I am putty in your hands, completely free live training. I'm not selling anything. I have no intention of selling anything. I just want to give you good stuff in this format. And I do apologize if you were on Facebook waiting for me. So can somebody write do I just push the X? What do I do? Thanks for sharing. Ciao, everyone. Ooh, I hope I don't lose it. Thank you. Thanks, Susan. Oh, Susan. Jennifer. Hey. Lovely. So good. Thank you, Angela. Monique, thank you so much. Joan, can you put a photo of your one-page notes? Oh, sure. I don't know how to do it in here, though. I'll send it to you, brother. That was Angus. Thanks, Angus. Have a great night. Thank you. I almost feel like I should I just push the X? Who's done a live? Tell me, someone's, oh yes, the X. And I can save it? That will give me a save option? Is that? This is called Ready, Aim, Fire. Ciao everyone, I'm out of here.
Make sure you share it.
And now?
Yeah, put in now.